And I rise to speak on a number of amendments to this bill before us. I mean, I spent a lot of time with colleagues on the planning and infrastructure bill itself, and some are very good amendments and some are not so good amendments, and I'll try and rattle through as many as I possibly can. The first amendment I'd like to speak on and support is new clause 43 in the name of my honourable member for Ruislip, Norwood and Pinner. The protection of our villages should have the same protection as our towns. Villages have unique character across all of our constituencies, and I'm privileged to represent 6 of them: Brickenden, Hertford Heath, Great Amwell, Stansted Abbot, St Margaret's and Goffs Oak. And I've seen a local council that has built development, probably too much development in a village, and I've seen that change the fundamental character of Goffs Oak, and that is something that we should be trying to protect. When people move to villages, they move there for the rural way of life and their unique character and identity, and we should stop urban sprawl and we should stop villages linking all together. The next new clause that I wish to support is new clause 39. We should not be putting solar farms across all of our agricultural land across the country. I don't mind, I do mind, even if it's 1%, as the government minister has made out and a number of colleagues opposite have. 1% is 1% too much. Of course, I support solar panels, but why not put them on new houses? Why not put them on factories? Why not put them on roofs? Well, you're not. I didn't see the government coming forward to support the Sunshine Bill, which was a private member's bill putting solar panels on new houses. So we won't take any lectures from the party opposite on that. Amendment 74 I fully support as well, and I'm surprised that the government aren't supporting this. The government have made a number of announcements about brownfield first. Well, why don't they put that in the legislation, and why don't they accept this amendment and put that in the bill? If the government is so determined to protect our greenbelt, and I'm hesitant about saying that because I don't think the government is, Madam Deputy Speaker. I don't think the government care about the greenbelt in this country, because if they did, they would put amendments in this bill to safeguard the greenbelt and make development brownfield first. I also like to support, and I've spoken on this a number of times about development, particularly in my constituency of Broxbourne, new clause 46, and we've had a number of members speak on this, about where development comes forward, particularly under outline planning permission. They come forward, it's painted in gold, and I've mentioned this before. You get a new school, a new GP surgery, there's a new road, there's a park, there's lots of community facilities, lots of community money, and then when the developer comes back for full planning application, it's completely changed. They have taken away all of the infrastructure. There's no new GP surgery, there's no new schools, there's no new infrastructure, there's no new community facilities, and clause 46 goes some way in trying to deal with making infrastructure first, and that's what our residents want to see. When planning permission is granted, it is easier for us as politicians to support the planning permission and get our residents more in favour of that planning permission if the infrastructure is going to be first. If they've got to see hundreds of new homes be built and no infrastructure, that is when our residents and our constituents get really fed up by that, particularly when it comes to new GP surgeries. There's new clause 63, which I'd also like to support, which tells us about planting trees on highways. I think planting trees on highways next to the highway makes a beautiful street. It makes places people want to live. This government is only focused on about building 1.5 million homes, which I don't think they will meet. They're not focusing on about designing and making communities of the future and making communities actually livable.
Will you give way?
I will give way on that point.
You're making a wonderful point about the clause which I have introduced. Does the honourable member agree with me that the impact also is about improving our environment, reducing pollution, and we need to think about all of that when we consider this bill?
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention. Of course I do. She makes an important point, and I fully support her amendment, and I know she's a keen advocate for this to happen in her constituency of Chester South and Edisbury, and this is about creating communities. As I said, this government is only interested in hitting a national target, which I don't think, and lots of experts in the industry do not think they are going to meet. They need to be thinking about how they are going to create communities of the future, about where people want to live. That means designing them really nice and getting developers around the table and doing design codes and making sure developers really put their money where their mouth is, making sure we have tree-lined streets, because when we go out in our constituency, Madam Deputy Speaker, as I'm sure you do in yours, walking down a tree-lined street, it looks absolutely beautiful. That is so much more better for the people living there and everybody in that constituency if we make that a reality for lots of our residents, rather than just focusing on building a set number. We should focus on creating the communities of the future and places where our constituents want to live.